The sources point heavily to the research of Alan Wilson and Byrne Blackett.
Okay, who are they?
They are two alternative historical researchers who fundamentally changed the methodology of how we look at the past. And Wilson, crucially, didn't come from a dusty academic background of purely reading old texts.
What was his background?
He came from heavy industry. He was a master planner for massive shipbuilding projects.
Wait, like commercial shipyards?
Well, think about what a master planner in a shipyard has to do. They're managing millions of man hours. They have to coordinate dozens of different specialized trades.
Right, it's incredibly complex.
Extremely. They have hundreds of thousands of individual pieces of metal, wiring, and machinery that all have to arrive at the exact right place in the exact right sequence at the exact right time, or the ship simply doesn't get built.
Okay, so it's intense, high-stakes logistics.
Exactly. And Wilson took those exact same industrial master planning techniques and applied them to the historical records.
So, mate.
Okay, I see
Right.
where this is going.
See, the standard academic view of early British history, the king lists, the genealogies, the battle records, was that it was mostly mythology because the dates contradicted each other constantly.
Right.
But Wilson and Blackett looked at this and said, this isn't a myth. This is just a logistical puzzle. It's basically a blown apart haystack.
So they basically put British history into a massive forensic spreadsheet.
Yes. And when they did that, they found a very specific localized error that had warped absolutely everything. It's a 33-year misdating in the foundation of British history.
Walk me through the math on that. How does shifting a timeline by just 33 years magically solve the entire puzzle of ancient Britain?
Well, it all centers on a document called the Welsh Annals.
Okay.
The Annals are a chronological record, but they don't use the Gregorian calendar dates we use today. They simply count years sequentially, like year 1, year 2, year 3, recording what happened in each year.
But for modern historians to understand when year 1 actually was, they had to anchor it to a known historical event on the Roman calendar, right?
Precisely.
What's what
You
we
need
like
a
of that?
redstone for the timeline itself. You need an anchor point.
Okay.
Now, in these annals, there is a mention of a letter sent by the Britons to a Roman general in Gaul asking for military help.
Okay.
Mainstream historians looked at this and decided, this letter must have gone to the famous Roman general named Aetius, spelled E-T-I-U-S. And we know Aetius was operating around the year 440 AD.
So they pinned year 1 to 440 AD and just calculated everything forward and backward from there.
Right. But I'm guessing you can see the flaw coming.
I'm guessing Wilson and Blackett found a flaw in that anchor.
A massive one. First of all, the political context makes absolutely no sense. The sources
Yes.
that the British at that time had
Oh, yeah.
just expelled the Romans and
War.
were furious with them.
Oh, so they wouldn't exactly be begging Aetius for help.
Exactly. But more importantly, if you look at the actual ancient manuscript of the Annals, it doesn't say Aetius. The scribes didn't write E-T-I-U-S.
What did they write?
The text clearly says Aetius, A-G-I-T-U-S. And in other corresponding manuscripts, it's written as Agnatus.
Wait. So mainstream history just assumed the ancient
It was
scribes
actually
misspelled the
Thursday.
name of the guy they were writing to.
Yes. They forced the
But
data to fit their assumption, but Wilson and Blackett pointed out that Agitus isn't a typo. It corresponds to a real, verifiable historical figure, Servius Flavius Aegidius.
Okay, who was he?
He was the king of the Franks, ruling the 7 cities of France. But here's the kicker. He ruled around the year 474 AD, not 440 AD.
Oh, wow. So by anchoring year 1 to the wrong general, the mainstream historical timeline for ancient Britain was violently yanked out of place by about 33 or 34 years.
Exactly. And in a chronological spreadsheet, when you pull one structural thread out of alignment by 3 decades, the whole tapestry warps.
It's like someone accidentally changed the time zone on our historical clock by 33 years, and suddenly none of the trains, or in this case the kings and battles, are lining up at the station when they're supposed to.
That's a perfect analogy. Suddenly, kings are recorded as fighting battles 20 years after they supposedly died. Monasteries are granted to bishops who haven't even been born yet. Fathers are listed as younger than their sons.
Which is exactly why mainstream academics threw up their hands and said, this must just be a chaotic Dark Age mythology, because it looked like nonsense.
Yeah, it did. But when Wilson and Blackett corrected that single 33-year error using their master planning logistics, suddenly all the trains arrived at the station on time.
Wow.
The kings lived at the right times, the genealogies made biological sense, and crucially, the recorded battles perfectly aligned with independent physical data like the volcanic eruptions and comet strikes recorded in global tree ring data.
So a coherent highly advanced British civilization suddenly emerged from the static just by fixing that one anchor point.
Exactly.
That is incredible. Just fixing a typo completely resurrects a lost civilization.
But I'm stuck on something you mentioned earlier.
What's that? Even if they were advanced, why go to Egypt? You mentioned they were dodging cataclysms. Are we talking about a localized flood or something bigger?
To understand the motive for the migration, the sources require us to go back much further and look at the archaic 138-year cyclic reset grid.
Okay, what is that?
This is a chronological framework developed by researcher Jason Brecher.
Right. And what physically triggers 138-year reset? Because honestly, that sounds terrifying. Are we talking about rogue planets, solar flares?
The archaic framework proposes that human history is continually interrupted by cyclical planetary scale cataclysms. And these are driven by periodic orbital resets, often referred to in ancient texts as the Phoenix or Nemesis cycles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We're talking about predictable
I'll be asleep all day. What's that? What is the time?
cyclical astronomical events that cause severe atmospheric and geological upheavals. Events that correspond to the Bronze Age collapse, or the sudden violent end of
Open to a live
Pleistocene
scroll
epoch,
later.
or the fall of Atlantis.
I mean, Atlantis. The sources actually bring Atlantis into this.
Yes, and it's treated not as a myth, but as a literal cartographic reality. I mean, one of the ancient maps provided in our source material explicitly marks Atlantis as a pre-cataclysmic
I was up
continent
since
off the
Thursday.
western coast of Europe.
That's wild. So how did this ancient British civilization know these resets were coming? Did they just like look at a calendar?
Well, they were master astronomers. Think about the megalithic structures scattered across Britain, Stonehenge, Avebury, Callanish.
Mainstream history views those as primitive religious sites, right?
Right, but the sources recontextualize them as massive, sophisticated astronomical observatories.
Yes.
The Cymric sacerdotal elite, which is the scholarly ruling class, were meticulously tracking these orbital periodicities. They knew the math of the cosmos.
So if you are an advanced literate society and your astronomical clocks are telling you that a global reset is
I'm
approaching,
fucking hanging.
you aren't just going to sit in your wooden halls and wait to be wiped out.
Exactly.
You're going to initiate a master continuity plan.
Precisely.
I am
They
living in an
executed
absolute
a
pigsty. I really need to tidy up. I just
multi-generational
can't be
migration.
fucked.
This elite
You know what I mean?
sacerdotal class gathered
I
their
haven't got
legal
any today.
language, their royal lineages, and their astronomical coordinate systems, and they moved.
Down to Egypt.
Yes, they traveled out of Albion, down through Europe, across the Mediterranean, seeking a specific geographical profile.
They needed somewhere safe. But I mean, nowhere on Earth is truly safe from a planetary cataclysm, right?
No, but you can look for geological stability and, crucially, an arid climate. They needed a place where they could carve their records into stone and gold without the moisture and glaciation of northern Europe grinding those records to dust.
And that location was the Nile Valley.
Exactly.
So Egypt wasn't just another territory to conquer, it was literally a panic room. It was the Nile Preservation Vault.
What's fascinating here is if we connect this to the broader archaeological anomalies of Egypt, it explains a lot.
How so?
Well, mainstream Egyptology constantly struggles with the sudden explosion of highly advanced megalithic and linguistic culture in early Egypt. It seems to just appear fully formed out of nowhere.
Right.
The sources argue it appeared fully formed because it was imported. It was a mid-cycle preservation tactic by a migrating elite.
And the plan was always to return home.
Always. Once the cataclysm passed and the earth stabilized, the descendants of that royal line carrying the title deeds and the astronaut.
You know what? Yesterday on YouTube, I done my live yesterday morning, right? Squirrel was in the chat saying, explaining to Sissy about all this. And he told me, so it was premiere. Yesterday evening, I was waiting for it. It never came up. I waited later on. Oh, Ambleside, nice. I've been there when I was a kid. Lovely. Yeah, I never got a notification. And all night I was checking it, and it never came up. And I messaged Squirrel this morning saying, "What? When I put in put your camera on?" He said, "I did." He said, "Go and have a look." Yeah, Windermere, been there as well. And then now it's on there, but it didn't come up at all last night. I didn't get it. There you go. I'm gonna go back to bed, mate. I'm gonna absolute shit. Oh. Can't be asked today. I need to have a tidy up. I need to see Billy the fucking Wiz. I'll sort me out. I can't. It's not about. I'm goosed. I feel like I'm going to go back to sleep. I'm not much good today. A little bit bright, isn't it? Oh, well, I'm going to go back to bed, mate. Have a great time. If I don't see you, have a good time tomorrow at Ambleside. Nice. I definitely had a good boost. I don't know where they are. I don't know where they are. Right, love you, brother. Love you, brother. See you later, mate. Ciao for now.